Cosmetic reasons alone. The practice was made illegal in England and Wales more than 10 years ago, but the RSPCA suspect that it's still being carried out here. It's very difficult to assess because dogs like Sammy, whose ears have already been cropped abroad, can still be imported legally. Lador Boland imports cropped dogs, mostly from Russia. After intensive training at his centre in East Yorkshire, the animals are sold to wealthy clients around the world for personal protection. He says practicality, rather than owner vanity, is the reason he uses cropped dogs.
When you've got a dog and you're training a dog, you're teaching a dog whether to chase a prey item or to bite a soft pillow or a cushion. When he's doing that, there's a natural instinct for the dog's head to shake forward and backwards or side to side. When it's doing that, the force of the ear clipping on the cushion or clipping on the side of the head creates blisters on the end of the ears. I've seen this over years of different dogs, bull breeds and Dobermans, and what happens then is the ears start to blister and bleed. Before you know they're infected, before you know the dog's in a lot of pain.
But the RSPCA insists that there's no such thing as ethical cropping. There seems to be little compromise in this debate, and as the dogs can't speak for themselves, both sides will no doubt continue to insist that they know what's best. Mike McCarthy, Sky News.
We're joined now by Shakira Miles, who is a veterinary nurse, and best placed, I would imagine, to tell us exactly how bad a situation it is at the moment. I mean, Shakira, we've had this ban in place now for a decade. So how often are vets, veterinary nurses like yourself, seeing dogs pass through the surgery with what looks to me like an utterly barbaric clipping of their ears?
Hi Neil, thank you for having me on. I have seen a couple of cases which have certainly been done in the UK. The owners are aware that they've been done over in this country as well. They've talked about how the dogs have open wounds when they've purchased them. This isn't just dogs either. I had a case where a kitten had the ears rounded at the top, making the kitten potentially appear much more cute, and these kittens were sold in a pet shop. So this isn't just dogs either. I think it's certainly going to be a trade that will be fueled by social media and the whole sort of image that these dogs portray.
Well, just on that point, I mean, so your assertion is that largely people are cutting off the dog's ears for aesthetic reasons rather than for practical purposes. And we heard in the report there are claims of ethical cropping of ears. I imagine that you would say that that's just a lot of nonsense.
Yes, absolutely. The thing is there any benefit to the dog to have their ears cut off? Absolutely not. From speaking to owners that have got dogs that have had their ears cut off, and these are rescue dogs, these dogs take an awful lot of training and a lot of sort of rehabilitation to accept having their ears touched again. It's a painful and completely unnecessary procedure that can also impact very negatively on these dogs' well-being, especially also with regards to their communication with other dogs and also how we interpret them. I've worked with dogs that have had their ears cut off, and they do appear different when you're working with these dogs and when you're caring for these dogs. They do look more intimidating. Absolutely.
So what should people do if they see a dog with cropped ears? Of course, many of them these days will be rescue dogs that are now with a loving home. The cropping occurred years in the past. But if someone sees a dog with freshly cropped ears, what should they do?
I mean, they absolutely need to be reporting this. Obviously, the RSPCA will be gathering as much evidence on these cases as possible. And the vets, of course, should also be taking that responsibility. It is considered mutilation under the RCVS Code of Conduct with regards to sort of veterinary care. It's an illegal procedure for good reason. And I do very much sort of feel strongly about this as well with regards to importation. For importing dogs that have already had their ears cut off, we're fueling a trade that we don't allow to happen in this country. So why are we paying and allowing dogs to come over that look like this, which is obviously going to fuel the trade and encourage people to do this illegally?
And briefly, Shakira, because we're just about to run out of time, an argument that I have heard in the past is basically, well, we crop the ears because of the risk of ear infection. I mean, is there any evidence that cropping your dog's ears leads to a reduction in the risk?
Absolutely not. I work with dogs all day, every day in my clinic, and yes, there are oral hematomas that can happen to any dog that has ears. They need their ears, they're normal, they're natural, they're necessary. I know somebody earlier was talking about protection dogs. I also see police dogs that come in that are working police dogs. These dogs are, of course, at high risk. They're working, they're out and about all the time, and they are active working dogs, the same as security dogs. We don't see dogs, those types of dogs, coming in with injuries to their ears. Absolutely unnecessary.
Shakira, many thanks for your time and your expertise. That's Shakira Miles, veterinary nurse from the Beaumont Sainsbury Animal Hospital. Stick with us here on Sky News. Coming up next.